Welcome back for the next video in Iron Curtain Grades Our Shit. Today we are out here all deeply concerned about what Nev has been up to in his free time. I am not going to say the name of this base, so you go ahead and fire that one off, big guy, because I don't want to say or type it.
It's the Furquarium and a Family Fun Center.
Now, I will point out casually that, while Nev here is standing dressed, pretty normally, you'll notice that everyone else is in hazmat suits, and that's not without good reason, because this is gross, and I have a feeling that large parts of this base are already sticky.
Not yet.
What the hell's the idea here? What are you trying to pull off?
Okay, so the idea of the invisible moat, I took to a somewhat weird place because when zombies fall into water, they become invisible, and it's a moat.
Somewhat weird place. That's just Nev's life.
Yeah, it really is.
Fair enough. But water is really hard to manipulate in this game, so the moat didn't fill the way I wanted it to, no matter how hard I tried.
Yeah, that's difficult to do, no lie. But it is fairly well, okay, so there's some shit. Yeah, it's a little weird, but I see what you're going for here. So they fall into the water, and you can't really do a whole lot about it because you can't see them, so you're hoping they just bang up against the spikes and die, more or less?
Yeah, they drag themselves across the first several rows of spikes until they get to the first wall where they had to bash through some spikes. Then they break. If they manage to break through that wall, they then hit an electrified fence. Then they have to break through another set of spikes and then another wall and then another set of spikes before they can finally get into the center area. And even if they manage to get into the center area, there's this beautiful cage up at top where we can just fire down if we have to.
Oh dear God. And you have a lot of spikes and a lot of electric fencing going. I'm assuming this is universal across the board. Seems like it.
Yep.
So it's basically just going to be an almost AFK while they're out in the moat there, and then once they're inside the cage, if they punch through the concrete and the spikes, then it's open up and go to town.
Yep.
So I'm assuming this then is your actual access hatch. You know, we don't like to build stuff that you can only fly to get into, so let's see what you got going on down here. Close that. Pretty simple. One wide trench. Speed this up a little bit. So it's pretty far off, which I like. Alright, there's a trench. Your ladder is a little shallow here. You might want to add a rung to that. And that spits you out in the woods. Pretty good way off. Alright. Not bad, not bad.
Now, one of the questions that may come up is where I got all of the stuff for this base.
This part makes me sad.
To answer that, you have to look over to the northwest.
This legit makes me sad. Like, I feel like we need to do an intervention, and the viewers are going to understand why here shortly. So this is his mine, more or less. Now, I want to point out to you something on the map. Here we are on the map. Here's everybody. Way the hell over here is our main cheat base. Keep that in mind. That's the supply depot right there. We are way the fuck down here. Okay. Heading in. It's very nice. It's very sterile. It's very clean looking. A lot of bulletproof glass. Go down. And some stairs. And we're down. 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 Still going down. Still going down. You'll notice that we are in fact still going down.
I win.
A little bright down here, it's not gonna lie to you. Holy shit.
Oh shit!
Buried some lanterns, didn't you?
Yep.
Okay, and you know it's a good sign when there's a truck parked here.
I broke my leg.
You're probably gonna wanna go back and get a cast or something. So we're gonna take said truck, and we're gonna drive. You'll notice, and I'm assuming that without checking it, this is bedrock, right?
Yes.
We're going. I feel like this is also a good look at this sort of resource delivery we've done, because my primary mine is actually not a whole lot smaller than this. It's dug out a little differently, but in terms of scale, we're not that far off. But this one, I think, goes a little something extra, which you'll see here as we continue along. You'll notice we're still underground driving. I'm gonna have to resist the urge to actually clip some of this out, just so I don't abbreviate the scale and depth of this insanity. And there's an access tube. Now you're thinking, okay, that's the way up. Great. But wait, there's more. Because he is truly a madman. Now I'm actually flying right now to speed this up, so we're not here all day. But just to show you how far back this second branch goes. Around over here, come over here, dig out a little this way, and we have finally hit the ass end of this. And I feel like at this point he probably just lapsed into some sort of coma.
Probably.
I needed resources.
Clearly. I mean, I'm kind of grateful that you've done this and not X, because if X took the same philosophy to his base construction, the world would be hollow.
Who's saying it's not?
Mm-hmm.
You don't know where
Now,
my mines are.
This is the path up. And in order to shave a little time on this, we're just gonna fly up this, because this is the same damn drop all over again.
Actually, it's a little lower in altitude because the aquarium is actually higher than the main bay.
Sure.
You keep
And
saying that word.
There's
Keeps
the
making
cheap base.
cringe.
Now I have been down underneath and paced out where his little second axis hole there went, and it actually paces out to right about here in terms of distancing. It was right about even with these buildings here. So you can see the amount of ground he's covered with his mine just to build that damn thing. I feel like we don't talk about the actual resources that go into play, but that's a worthwhile look just because of the sheer volume that's going into some of the shit we're building. And that's going to be a fun thing to have to reestablish when Alpha 19 comes out, no lie.
Yeah, this thing is huge.
If only I had a nickel for every time Swoop has said that. And also, welcome back, Swoop. If you've been watching our channel, you know we haven't seen Swoop since, like what, episode 2? I think
Something like
Towers
that, yeah.
based, something like that. But Swoop's here. Duel's back.
Sorry,
Hooray.
guys. D&D got in the way.
Yay. Swoop just had to make an appearance for the aquarium.
Right. It beckoned him.
That's really it. Being a biologist, you know, I had to make sure it was okay.
We
Meeting
need,
ethical guidelines and, you know.
we need an
Well,
environmental
it's not.
impact survey.
Ethical guidelines?
Pretty sure the environmental impact survey would be stop.
Yes.
Covered in tear-soaked paper. All right, so for the usual 2 grades, supplies needed. Can the official
Inverted
grade? Can the official grade for supplies needed be fuck you? Sometimes, like the toilet, I've said fuck me, but I feel like the grade for this one is fuck you.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm with that.
I will say at least he did dig out that insanity and help us make up for some of that, but you know, fuck you, buddy. Fuck you. Build difficulty. How goddamn long were you at this? And I actually started to get a little nervous because I was off playing something else. I forget, it was FF or something. And I noticed that you had just been silently toiling away in 7 days for like 6 hours.
That was one day.
I know, and then I peeked in and it was basically the footprint of this thing was in place. What was the grand total on this?
Digging the pit for it, digging the escape tunnel, and then most of the mining, I'm going to say 16 hours?
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
That's
for a
the
second.
dig. That's not the build.
Yeah. So probably closer to 2025 for the total build.
Yeah, something like that. And it took me a bit to get the wiring right.
Yeah, you've got a lot of that fencing going on, and that's easy to screw up, so no lie.
Rounded to an even 30 hours.
Jesus.
Solo.
So, you know, I had said that I wouldn't recommend the toilet to people because it was so long. But obviously, I mean, the fact that the toilet has now pitched in and saved our asses from 2 other, bad nights testifies to that. This is a whole new level of, dear God, don't. Like, I think this is what happens when you have the combination of Alpha 18 ending and still being under quarantine. So, this is going to be interesting because we're going to hit this first wave and they're going to charge at us and then we lose them in the water. In all fairness, I'm not 100% sure how big a fan of that as a concept I am. We'll have to see how that plays out.
I look at it this way. We'll know when to come up and actually start shooting things the moment we hear the electric fence go off the first time.
Oh, for sure. And we can hang out here in the cage or on the roof and everything. I like that you have a roof option and a cage. If vulture traffic's a problem, you're protected, so you'll get a decent grade on that. But holy shit, dude. This is bonkers. Horde Night's coming up. Let's see how she does. This is gross.
There we go.
Alright, let's see how she does. I got a whole bunch of them on this western wall.
Got a exploder over here too.
Couple of them.
Let him go.
Something exploded.
He blew up on the outer corner here, but nothing too terrible.
He was way out there.
Yeah, a little bit of frame choke on this one.
Yeah, I was saying something's fucking with my frame. It's hard.
Yeah, same.
It's the aquarium. They're making your frame sticky.
No.
We've noticed in the past that when you have builds that put you face on with the Horde like this, it tends to bottleneck frames
Oh yeah.
for everybody, regardless of rig.
Where do they come through? 'Cause I don't see any.
Well, that's
Oh,
actually
there
kind of
it
a
is.
downside because where they came through is probably underwater. You can see where it's leaking through there.
Yeah.
Yep.
His face has leakage issues.
So do most of its visitors.
Heyo! We're old.
Uh-oh.
Ooh, that
Uh-oh.
didn't sound like fun.
That spider dropped a lifetime pass to the aquarium. Didn't know that you give those out.
He was a
Well,
platinum
he used
subscriber.
it up.
If you donate to our Patreon, you get unlimited visits.
If I donate more, will you give me fewer visits?
Silver tier gets unlimited. Platinum doesn't have to come.
Silver tier is unlimited but forced. Like you have to live.
Mandatory. For Nev's furry education. He says it's the family fun center in the same way that North Korea would use those words.
We'll say it's doing a really good job of funneling them.
So Nev's base has a hole that encourages many different people to come through. I need an adult. I don't like it here.
Aren't we supposed
Too
to be
late.
adults?
I need an adultier adult.
Watch yourself around Neverwind. I worry that he's gonna poke holes in our hazmat suits to give us the full experience.
He's gonna poke a
That's
hole.
why
and
mine was in my room.
gently mist you with something that you can't describe. Be like one of those amusement park things where it just kind of blows little droplets at you.
Why do these droplets make me feel funny?
He says it's because of the heat, but we're in the snow, so I have concerns. Aerosolized root hypnol.
Ephedrine for mine, please.
Family fun and weight loss center? Did Swoop just turn this into fat camp? What the fuck just happened?
Gold package comes with the churro.
That's not cinnamon sugar, buddy.
Better than the goat farm, though.
The fuck you
Yeah, I
say to
don't
me?
want to know what duel's
Silver
gonna
tier
make in
comes
my
with a
game.
free burrow.
Burrow.
Gotta ease you into it. Ease you into it.
What, the concept or the burrow?
Yes.
Jesus Christ has left the chat. JPEG's gonna get a workout on this one.
Guys, I just got a notification on my screen that says, I am infected. Is that from the zombies or from Nev's base?
Yes.
I think they blew through that wall, and now their pathfinding is trying to get them to that hole to get inside.
Yeah.
We've got a couple people. I'm working on one right now that have run to that hole, but I'm not sure if they're tracking to it or... This guy's just, I don't know, Coach has got this kid running laps. I'm not sure what he's doing.
Look at him.
You're late for practice again, Johnson. Give me 30.
Remember, the only way we survive the aquarium is 6 feet apart.
I don't even think that'll help.
It was doing social distancing before social distancing was cool.
They weren't actually going to release 19, but then they saw this and they realized that was the only way to kill it, so...
So 19 is releasing some sort of melee turret that looks like it has some sort of like punching piston on it. I'm gonna be in before 10,000 fisting jokes. This is the kind of base you build when you want to spend the rest of your life having to tell your neighbors you've moved in.
God, there's like 10 of them down here in the corner, beating away.
Are they also attacking the base?
Uh-huh.
What happens at the fur aquarium stays at the fur aquarium.
It's a jack shack. It's a really elaborate jack shack. Ooh, the boys what been whacking it in my tool shed.
So, is it kind of like the opposite of Disney? You know, Disney, when you do a ride, you have to pay to get the picture. Is here, do you have to pay to keep the picture from being printed?
That's actually smart for this.
If you could keep my name completely out of this recording, I would really appreciate it.
Cool.
Blur you the whole time. Charlie Brown adult audio filter. Yeah.
I would like to point out that my all wooden base is not that odd.
No, and we'll talk about that. I suppose now is as good a time as any. So, in the run-up to Alpha 19, we have discussed that building large, elaborate things past this or getting into any kind of testing and development is a little janky when we're just sort of waiting on the go-ahead to pull the trigger on the new update. So what we're going to do in the interim is something that we have been talking about for a hot minute. I know a few of the people in the comments have suggested or mentioned something like this in the past. We are going to go with the endgame wood-based challenge. The idea being is now that we are in an extremely high game stage and our day total is ticking along quite nicely, can we build something that will stand up to a horde like what you're seeing here, you know, plenty of demos, lots of irradiated, etc., and have it be built 100% out of wood. Now, we haven't discussed all of the finalized rules and options for this, but I know everything has to be 100% wood. We're not even going to do like iron layering or iron doors or anything like that. And my suggestion for it is actually that we have no fully automatic, no explosives, and no fire. Like, the base has to be carrying itself. You can't just go over there with a pant load of rockets and use that to clear it off, because that'll defend just about anything.
How many exactly is a pant load of rockets?
However many X usually brings out.
I have about 100 of them right now.
Yeah, so there you go.
I keep a good stock.
He doesn't have anything else in his pants competing for space.
Oh.
Fair enough.
Just a rocket in your pants, or are you just happy to see me?
I'm not happy to see you. I just have a huge dick.
Wow.
Davian out of nowhere.
Alright, I think that's the buzzer.
But somehow I'm sticky coming out of the water.
Let's take a look down here and see what happened. So this obviously got beat up, but some of this might just be our rounds and stuff. They punched through here. Came in. They're mad. They're hitting spikes.
This is where
They took out some of the spikes. They broke a fencing here, but not too catastrophically bad.
Yeah, let me turn the power off.
Yes, please.
But in general, this didn't take a ton of damage. I'm actually genuinely surprised. You know, this one corner got beat up and it allowed them in, but then you had so much going on in here that it didn't represent a significant amount of progress for them. Now they got here and they started hacking this out. And if they'd have gotten through this wall, then I'm assuming they're just inside the center box area there at that point, right?
Nope.
No,
they
there's
got-
a whole
Nope.
nother layer.
After they get through this, so there's this wall that they punch through.
Oh, fuck.
Then there's this wall. Then there's another layer of spikes. Then another.
Oh, so they
Yeah, they weren't
had a
getting anywhere near
long
coming outside.
goddamn way to go. Yeah, they weren't getting
Yeah.
anywhere near the center. That performed a lot better than I expected. I'm not sure
did.
that the water added anything to it. And you know yourself now that stuff is extremely hard to work with. It
Yep.
never does what you want it to do. Before the grading, the night is clearly over. We're a little early here with that, but no big whoop. Durability. I'm gonna say like an A. Well,
Well,
hmm.
let's give it this. They punched through one wall, so B.
Yes and no.
That's
They
fair.
punched through a wall, but you kind of designed that wall to be punched through.
That's true.
That's what's tripping me up, because it's not like you had a one thick wall there and were praying that they would never get through that. You were actively, in a lot of ways, encouraging that, because getting through that wall is when the fun starts.
That's true.
So I'm actually, as a matter of design, if you didn't want them going through that wall, then that wall would be, multiple blocks thick. You wanted them in that wall because that opens up a whole new level of pain, and that's your first exposure to the electric fencing. I am comfortable giving this an A on durability, honestly.
Okay,
Hmm.
works for me.
Any objections from anybody else?
I'm cool with that.
Are the Zeds controlled? That one I think is a little less so.
Yeah.
They kind of did what they wanted, but within reason of the
Yeah,
direction
we're
we put
baiting
them
them
in.
They're as controlled here in theory as they are in like the standard moat base we did a couple months back, or like the Raptor pen. They can come from any angle, and then you meet them with whatever surprise you've got waiting. The only thing that kind of hits me on that, and where I think it might lose a couple points, is the water forcing you to essentially lose track of them. Once they hit that, you couldn't do anything about it until they came through to the next, tier here. I'm thinking that because of the water and the way that interaction plays out, are the Zeds controlled is more like a B?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing, the biggest thing in its favor is the fact that once they get through a wall, or at least the first wall, they're now in a very narrow trench, and they can't really go anywhere.
No, you've got them. You're fishing a barrel
it's a shooting
at that point.
valor.
Sure. Resources used. Gasoline. What did you end up burning for the night? We'll round up and say 400 gas, which is perfectly reasonable for something this size. That's actually a lot less than what you would see in a lot of bases using equitable amounts of electric fencing and using those as like a frontline thing. So I think gas, you get an A there. 400 gas is nothing catastrophic for this much coverage. Ammunition, I was well under 1,000 rounds for the night. X, what'd you use?
I ended up burning about 1,800.
Davian?
About 1,500.
Swoop?
About 1,500 as well.
Duel?
About 15.
And Nev?
I was having some fun shooting them. I got around 5,000.
Okay, so that jacks it up a little bit. Between 10 and 15k without doing a count-for-count basis. I'd say like a B. That's adjusting for the fact that unlike a lot of our other grades, we have 6 people here instead of 5. So rounding that off and grading on a curve, I think that's a B. 15,000 on the high end is a lot, but it's not irreversibly a lot. It's not catastrophically a lot. I don't start to get worried about ammo counts until they get up into the 20+ range. Just because if you're making the ammunition in forges, it can take a long goddamn time to spit out that many rounds, even if you have access to that much brass, and that much brass can be challenging. This could also get away with using a lot less ammo than we did, especially in your case, Nev.
Yeah.
Because of the iron and all the other trap systems you've got here. This is obviously a base that's doing a lot of damage to them, so there's a lot of potential for this, maybe not as a blueprint as much as a proof of concept. Cheese. I don't see any cheese. Using water is kind of weird. You don't see it come into
There's
play
a
very
kind
often.
of cheese that's here that I'm not going to say, but you get the point.
Gross. We said cheese, not stickiness.
It is technically called cheese.
I need to go wash my hands.
But there is nothing here that would be patched out.
No, I don't
think.
see any cheese. You don't have any tips or anything that's tricking the AI. This is a brute force solution. It's an extreme brute force solution, but it is one regardless. Chances of being patched out, there's nothing here, like we said, so we're good there. Final grade. Now, it performed well. It has a lot of ammo conservation potential. It's durable. It did decent on control. But it took you forever. And it has one of, if not the highest price tags we've done.
I'm pretty sure you can see them from space.
I'd be curious to see how this shook out as a final blueprint. If we were to reconstruct this and keep ultimate track of everything you used, this versus like the toilet. Just because you're so densely packing so much extra shit in here with all these spikes and everything that may tip the scales. So taking into account the build time and resource costs, like a C.
Yeah.
You know,
C minus.
Really, C minus?
Yeah, it took me an enormous amount of time to put this thing together.
Okay.
I'm basically at the top of the map here, and I can still see it.
I think this demonstrates some functionality in terms of walls and layering and using that to slow down your Zeds and greeting them with fun activities as they get through each subsequent layer. I think that's an idea with a lot of potential. It's also an idea that could be scaled down dramatically and still be effective. And it's you could probably do that concept without even having to bury it and do the whole moat thing. So there are a lot of separate elements from this entire execution that could be pulled out and adapted to a number of different build ideas, or just as standalone concepts that would probably work pretty well without having quite the price tag that this monstrosity does. So, like we said, coming up, we've got the endgame wood-based challenges. We'll take a whack at those over the next few weeks. We may or may not condense some of those down, do as multi-videos or whatever, depending on what the A19 timeline looks like. I know, like everybody else, we're just kind of treading water, waiting for that to hit, and then once that hits, we're going to work to reestablish ourselves as quickly as we can, and we'll go from there. Closing words from anybody else?
Splat.
Splat. Xavier died. That's a good note to go on. Alright, everybody. As always, we appreciate you watching, and we will catch you next time.